and shine. It's the Ravens Squad, sponsored by Game Time. Everything Baltimore Ravens every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the heart of Charm City. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Flock together and squad up. The Ravens Squad Show starts now.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the second ever episode of the Ravens Squad Show. How you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Samuel Njoku, joined by always Kevin Oestreicher, Mr. Locked On Ravens himself, and former Ravens legend wide receiver Kadri Ismail. Welcome to the show, guys. Huge week in the NFL for us because this is our first week doing this show, and obviously I'm very excited about it. But training camp is a ways away, meaning the rookies are going to come in next week. Football's almost here, guys. I'm feeling very excited about it. Kevin, let me tell you, let me get your thoughts. How do you feel about football being just around the corner? Because I'm excited.
Man, I'm pumped for it. I mean, look, you have an opportunity here to win a Super Bowl, and this is where it starts. You know, week one, you got to be ready. How do you get ready? It's in training camp with your guys. I know, Q, you have more experience about this than I do. I don't have the actual experience going into a training camp and being with your guys and learning and going in the meetings and everything. But from what I can tell from the outside looking in, this to me is where it all starts. I mean, this is where you get it going.
I think when you talk about training camp, you got to separate your mind in that I know this is a necessary evil. I know this is where we as a team, we come together and bond. Even if it is different than where it was when I was a player or where it was before the new collective bargaining agreement cut it to whatever the time frame is and no longer a true two-a-day practice, even though coaches can kind of get around that. But with that said, camp is camp. And so that bonding, rarefied air, guys coming together to make sure that they're all on the same page, offense, defense, special teams. That's the hallowed ground. But then you also got guys who are chasing their dreams and trying to just make the team. And so, those are the guys that are like, man, I believe I can get on this team. I believe I can contribute. I belong in this league. And you're just trying to show up and show out and hopefully impress the coaches, hopefully impress the scouts, and everybody sit there at the final cut down and your name is called. And obviously with COVID, it totally changed the game with the practice squad. So now you got more opportunities to get more guys on the team. And I think that's a really good thing. So yeah, lots of moving parts. But for the Ravens, it's a Super Bowl or bust proposition. And therefore your team is stacked. And so if your team is stacked, you're going to have some strengths and you're going to have some weaknesses. And it is up to the coaches to kind of sift through all of that to see where your strong suits are and where some of your weaknesses are. And you get to that via training camp.
Exactly. And that's a great segue to how we're going to get this show started. In the show, we're going to be talking about position groups, both on offense and defense. First part of the show, we'll be touching on the offense, the groups. We'll rank them and see how these groups are going to fare in training camp and throughout the season. Then in the second part of the show, we'll talk about the defense. In the third part of the show, we'll talk about a certain player who's potentially in the eyes of a lot of Baltimore Ravens fans and also who may have his eyes on us in contingency with potentially having a contender on his side for a quest for the Super Bowl. In the last part of the show, we'll talk about something dealing with the USA Today. They have some rankings dealing with the Ravens concerning our uniforms, which some of us may not agree with. But first, we definitely want to get started talking about training camp, and what better way to get started was with this offense. Q, I'll start with you. The offense looked really good last year. It looks like they got even better in the offseason. How would you rank these position groups? We'll start with quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, O-line. How would you rank these groups from 1 to 5?
Boy, this is a tough one because this is a loaded team. And if you go position by position and you look at where they're at, I'm going to say, boy, this is a tough one. I'm actually going to say, it breaks my heart.
I know.
The receiving group ekes out at number 5.
Ooh,
I
like it.
It's hard for me to say that.
Wow.
So we know Zay Flowers, OTA, minicamp. He looked fast. He was flying around. But The thing is, if you're going off of last year, he had to sit out because of his knee injury. At the same time, we know Rashod Bateman, when we last saw him, he got his fat contract extension. Awesome job. But he, too, kind of tailed off with regards to the playoff, in particular, up at Buffalo. When they needed to make plays, they made plays throughout the year, but just groups. When we're talking groups, I love them. But D-Hop, he kind of fell off too. And I know he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, but yeah. In other words, just ranking-wise for the team, I think it's a scenario for me where my standards are high for my group, the receiving core. And they got to, step up. And so, therefore, Tyler Wallace, he has been solid, awesome, amazing. Can't complain about him, not one iota. I think Tez Walker is going to be phenomenal, but that's where I got to start off with. Oh, it pains me to say it.
I want to hear what number 4 is now.
Wow, I'm a little shocked, Q. Yeah. And it's not a bad way. I'm just like, man, we're all gonna have different lists, right? So, and that's what I love about this exercise is 1 through 5 when we rank these offensive positions. My number 5 is the offensive line, which I want to establish. First of all, I want to get some ground rules in here for how we're ranking this right now.
Yes,
I'm going off of depth personally. Yeah, okay. Right. We all might have different ways of how we're ranking them. I'm going off of depth of the positions. So obviously, if we're going star power, quarterback would be number 1 for me. That's just Lamar Jackson, and that is what it is. But to me, the reason offensive line is number 5 for me is the guard position. There's uncertainty there. I think when you look at this offense, that's the one area of what could be a weakness. We know that Daniel Falele has to step up this year, and I think we understand that left guard spot, whether it is Andrew Voorhees, Ben Cleveland, etc., those are going to be the guys that are going to make or break the offensive line. I'm not worried about Ronnie Stanley or Roger Rosengarten or Tyler Linderbaum. And I think that they have enough there where, those are talented players. But after those 3, there is the uncertainty for me. So that's where I'm going number 5 with offensive line. Sam, what about you? What's your number 5?
Oh, man, now I'm changing my answers. I was leading them one way, but now you're mentioning depth, star power. Q got me thinking about the receivers. I'm going to go, so I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to have depth and star power. I'm going to mix it together. And I'm still going to eke out number 5 being the O-line. I still think the interior of the offensive line is a little bit concerning. I do like Emory Jones. I think that Rosengarten in his second year, I'm wondering how the Ravens are going to combat what they had to deal with in this first season. A lot of times I saw them using running backs, fullbacks, and tight ends to kind of help them chip off some of those big-time pass rushers. So I want to see his elevation this year. I will give the edge to O-line and as far as depth goes, but I like where Q's head is at. He's convincing me a little bit, maybe because he's been there. But obviously at 5 isn't as bad as I thought it was initially, but I'm going to stick with my time. O-line at 5.
I will say before I move on to number 4, I think it is a case where the receivers – They have the star power. They were dependable. I think there were just those question marks, whereas here comes my number 4, the O-line. You had a historic year with Derrick Henry. You saw how Justice Hill was able to get off. You saw how Lamar Jackson had a great quarterback rating. Ain't none of that happening if your offensive line is spotty. Sure, we can say Daniel Falele. There were times where it was like, bro, you got into the right position and, oh, my God, you didn't block anybody. Oh, wow, you were about to – okay, what'd you do? I get that. But Rosengarten, Linderbaum, gosh, Ronnie Stanley, man, I mean, those guys were just consistent. And I think what I saw as far as Voorhees – Ben Cleveland, we're going to see. But just the overall from a star power and depth, I would say, therefore, my number 4 is O-line.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I can understand where, 5 or 4, I think we're all in agreement that, there is some stuff that has to be proved in that unit. And, that guard position is the one. I feel like this is going to be the first hot take of the ranking list here. Okay. Oh man, I don't know if I'm ready to drop this one, but I guess I have to because it's my number 4.
Do not do this.
Again, I'm going off of the depth. All right, I'm going off of the depth.
That's your criteria.
Number 4 is quarterback for me because of the depth. All right, because of the depth. Again, if star power was the criteria, quarterback would be number 1. All right, we know that. That's not a question. But my thing is, I like the other 3 positions enough with their depth to where Cooper Rush, Devin Leary, that whole squad there, it's such a hard position to rank because you want to put Lamar at 1. That's what you're naturally trying to do here. But in my opinion, the Ravens have built those other 3 positions up enough to where Lamar himself can carry a position group on his own. Lamar Jackson is the best player in football right now, in my opinion. But in terms of the actual depth they have, I think it's more of a credit to what Baltimore has built as opposed to the quarterback position is not that great. The quarterback position is great in Baltimore because you have a star. But I like the depth elsewhere. I feel like it's a hot take. And Q, you are making it known. You do not agree with me. So I'm curious to see where quarterback lands on your list. But I know, Sam, you got to give your number 4. So what do you got?
4, I got wide receiver. I think that everything Q said is correct. I just trust the receivers a little bit more than I do the interior of the offensive line. They do have a lot to prove this year because the Ravens are pushing for a championship. And besides the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, they didn't really do too much besides adding Wester through the draft. I like, what they did, with Wester. I like that they re-signed Rashod Bateman. I like that Zay Flowers is taking that next step. But I do want to see a little bit more. I'm tired of the disrespect coming from the outside media in regards to the receivers, and they need to do their part to step it up so that there isn't much to talk about. But this offense is booming regardless. So, but if you had to tell me who's the 4th best, I'd say the receivers.
All right.
Okay, Sam, I already talked about the receivers, and damn, we're talking about quarterback. Like, how do you put them at 4? And I get the criteria.
It's the criteria. It's the criteria.
I mean, that's the only thing I can even think of, but it's like Lamar and everybody else. Yeah. But with that said, though, I got to give you some love and understand that, yes, from a depth aspect, I can see that. I'll talk about my quarterback ranking in a little bit because as we move on to number 3, I got to say this, the tight end position. Now, do we have juggernauts at the tight end position from a depth aspect of things? Yes. Star power? Yes. So you can arguably say, Kadri, you have them too low. What are you thinking about? If you're going off of KO's understanding, then the Oestreicher meter should have them ranked number 1. But I am saying this from a depth star power or as far as impact. I am saying that, yes, my guy Charlie Kolar is amazing. Yes, Pancake Pat be doing his thing and holding it down. Now it's one of the reasons why Derrick Henry did so well. But then you also look at the 2 juggernauts in the room with Isaiah Likely and, of course, Mark Andrews. Mark has had the tumultuous offseason after the 2-point conversion gaffe and obviously the fumble earlier in the quarter in the Buffalo Bills playoff game. I think this is a scenario where they have some things they need to prove. I think Isaiah is looking to prove that he's a number 1 bona fide guy. I think at the same time, Charlie Kolar is trying to get his bag. I think this is more of we need to prove ourselves worthy of getting that upper tier money and or that contract extension, Mark Andrews. So therefore, again, challenge. I guess one of my criteria is the challenge of this year for them. So the challenge of this year for them, they fall at number 3.
Yeah, I won't give too much away when it comes to my number 1 because Q might have just done it, but I'm gonna give my answer for number 3. And you guys have talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to take too much time. It is the wide receivers to me. Wide receiver is my number 3 here. Look, it's not the deepest room in the NFL, but it is light years ahead of what we have seen from the Ravens, especially in the Lamar Jackson era. I'm expecting that big leap from Zay Flowers, another big leap from Rashod Bateman. I think DeAndre Hopkins is that upgrade over Nelson Aguilar. And I think we have a couple of other guys like a Tylan Wallace and a Tez Walker. And, we've talked about LeJontay Wester. And also, I think, if you want to get really deep into it, even some of these practice squad guys that are probably going to make it, Anthony Miller stepped up for them last year. What's he going to do? There are other guys that could make an impact. Now, I'm not going to factor in practice squad in the actual rankings. I'm just saying. But to me, I think this wide receiver room, there's a little bit of a fall off after the number 3 wide receiver. You can kind of classify it as Zay and Rashod Bateman are in one category, DeAndre's in another, and then the other guys are in the last category. But I think the depth is really nice there. So wide receivers officially checked off, much like offensive line. Sam, what's your number 3?
Running back. I'm going to number 3 as the running back. I think that, Derrick Henry is a phenomenal running back, obviously second in the league in rushing yards last year. After that, I'm not sure. Keaton Mitchell, has he recovered from that ACL tear? Has he gotten what it takes? Justice Hill, we know what he can do. But I think with my 2 and 1, either you have a humongous star power or there isn't too much gap between 2 really great players. So I'm going to give my number 3 to the running backs.
All right, Q, what's your 2?
It's interesting because as I continue our list, I would say number 2 for me is quarterback. Therefore, if number 2 is quarterback, running back is number 1, but I will digress and go back over to number 2. So we know that this is the 3rd iteration of the Todd Monken system. And I think for it to function, you have to have that quality, high-functioning mind, and you got it in Lamar Jackson. I think Devin Leary, from what I saw in OTAs, what I saw in the minicamp, I can totally see he's more comfortable, he's more relaxed. I think he has a sense of the room for himself and his voice. His voice doesn't necessarily have to be loud, but I think it is a scenario where, he's going to be there and helping out Lamar. He's clearly going to need a big preseason game or games, I should say, and joint practices to just have a strong solid. At the same time, Cooper Rush, I guess, this is why we got him at number 2, in that for him, while he has NFL experience, I think the offense, to me, is a little bit different than where he felt when he was with the Cowboys. And so that's why I have them at number 2. And, of course, talk about my number 1, even though Kevin Oestreicher, he lost his mind when he just mentioned number 5. But that's okay. Go ahead. Go. Talk amongst yourselves.
Again, I think I have to say this for the rest of the show to just reiterate. Lamar Jackson's the best player in football. It's the criteria for me to put quarterback at number 4. But speaking of the criteria, my number 2 on my list is running back, and my number 1 is tight end. That is where I am right now. I think the running back position is awesome for the Ravens. I mean, you're going to have hopefully a 3-headed monster this year with Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell. Maybe you want to throw Rasheen Ali in there. Sam, I know that's your guy, so I wanted to give him some love for you just in case. But, those guys, they all have the potential to impact the game. Obviously, Derrick Henry's the biggest game impactor, but we saw what Justice Hill could do last season. I've been super impressed with him, and obviously Keaton feeling how he is feeling. He's been very vocal about that. That's huge. And then tight end, to me, I just think is the best tight end room in football. I still think Mark Andrews is a top 5 tight end. Isaiah Likely's a top 10 tight end. Obviously, Charlie Kohler is a really nice compliment to those 2 guys. I think tight end is the strongest room on this offense. Sam, what's your 2 and 1? What do you got?
2, I got quarterback. I think I agree with you. The gap between Cooper Rush and Lamar Jackson is a little too deep for me to have him at number 1. Lamar Jackson, obviously the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. I've talked about it all the time. And number 1 for me as well is tight end. I think tight end is just the difference between Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews for me isn't that great, and the fact that you could lose one and not really lose a beat with the offense, kind of like what happened in early 2024, makes me very comfortable with this tight end group. So I have him at number 1. What about you, Q? Who's your number 1?
Yeah, man, it's interesting that both of you guys said tight ends, and I get it, and I respect it. I think they are a strong group, no question about it. But I think from 1 of my criteria as far as proving it. They have a lot to prove, and that's why I had the receivers at 5, the prove it from the O-line. Obviously, when you're talking about the O-line, I think that there's going to be that strong group and that strong understanding. Tight ends, quarterback, clearly there's a lot to prove as far as Super Bowl or bust. The number one group that I think they don't have to prove, Jack Diddley. I'm not saying that they just have to show up, but I'm saying that the running back group, top to bottom, they've already proven it. Now it's about Todd Monken just saying, look, we get it that everybody's going to do everything that they're going to do, but when we run the football and we run it effectively like we did against the Dallas Cowboys to kind of get our game back on track, or when we had to close out the game, a simple toss pitch in the Cincinnati game in overtime, D. Hen going down the sideline, or when you need a big play down the sideline, Justice Hill comes along. And at the same time, when you're talking about opening up a game and just right away setting the tone, Buffalo Bills game on a primetime stage, mother of pearl. It's all about the running backs. And so I think that's why they're that number one spot. They don't have to prove anything. And I think Keaton Mitchell sure is ready to go. He had his redshirt year last year. He was out there while he did not make those crazy explosive plays. I think he's poised and ready in the way this offense is going to function this year to be that explosive guy and mother of pearl. Talk about an amazing three-headed monster with D. Hen, Jay Hill, and then you add in a Keaton Mitchell. Dangerous. I think it's just dangerous. Those are our rankings.
All right, let me make sure I got the list right. Sam, number 1 tight end, number 2 quarterback, number 3 running back, number 4 wide receiver, number 5 O-line. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
All right, Q, number 1 running back, number 2 quarterback, number 3 tight end, number 4 O-line, number 5 wide receiver. That's yours? All right, and then mine is obviously number 1 tight end, number 2 running back, number 3 wide receiver. I won't mention number 4, and the number 5 is the offensive line. Quarterback is my number 4. So, hey, I'm excited to get into the defense because I have another hot take that I'm not sure people are going to agree with. But I guess that's what I'm here for. So
you're here for the hot takes. Well, appreciate it. Yep, awesome segment. When we come back, we'll talk on the defense a little bit, get our rankings 1 through 5, a defense that has got a lot of praise since the acquisition of some key players, both during the draft and through free agency. So stay tuned for more here on the Raven Squad Show. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and make even regular season games feel like must-watch events. I'm telling you, when I get ready for the regular season, I'm going to be on FanDuel, making sure I get all my bets in. Of course, the Baltimore Ravens are highly favored in most of the contests, so it seems like a great way to make some extra cash. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, welcome back to another segment here on the Raven Squad Show. We talked about our top 5 groups on offense. Now it's time to get to the defense. When it comes to Baltimore Ravens, it's all about the defense. Kevin, I'm going to start with you because your takes were crazy hot in the first segment. I want to get your number 5 group when it comes to the defense.
All right. This one I don't think is going to be super hot. My number 5, the weakest position to me is the inside linebacker group. I don't know, maybe it is a hot take, but I'm going inside linebacker.
I knew it was
all right.
coming. So
Hey, Andrew caught me. My number 5, and I didn't even see that before. So
good job, Andrew.
Spot on.
Andrew,
number 5
let him know.
Inside linebacker. Look, again, if this was star power, we know Roquan is a star. But the depth criteria, there's just not a lot after Roquan. There really isn't. I mean, Trenton Simpson, we all hope he's able to step up in year 3, but we were hoping that in year 2 after PQ left, and the Ravens were scrambling for most of the year because he didn't step up. I think Teddy Buchanan has a shot to be a player for him. I think his coverage skills are a skill that this Ravens inside linebacker group needs, but they did lose all their depth essentially, right? I mean, you got Malik Harrison and Chris Board and Kristen Welch. They're all out the door. So I think, in my opinion, yes, Roquan by himself. I know Q, he's the high tide that raises all ships. And there are a couple of guys that do that on this defense. I know that's your thing. Roquan is one of those guys, but I don't love what's behind him, and I'm hoping someone can step up.
Yeah. It still pains me because a high tide does raise all ships, and he is the glue. And it is as crazy as me saying number 4 group would be the quarterbacks. So my number 5 group, like, it feels crazy to say Roquan and them are down, but like, he's only one guy, and it's tough for that group. I think they will be making a big splash to help them come back. But if I put my receiving crew at number 5, because they had to prove it, definitely the inside linebackers, Trent Simpson and company, Buchanan, all those guys, all those young players, they need to step up. I think they're easily at number 5.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree. I know I gave Kevin a hard time about it, but inside linebacker is clearly number 5. I think, again, outside of our boy Roquan Smith, there isn't much in terms of proven talent. And a lot of guys with potential, a lot of drafted guys, a lot of guys we've seen in action, but, haven't really stepped up. We really need another inside linebacker to make that next jump for this defense. And it's one of the concerns heading into training camp. So it's very, very interesting battle to watch. But other side, Roquan Smith, we got to see which one of these guys step up. Number 5, for sure, inside linebacker.
Okay. Number 4 seems to be the spot where the hot takes come in for me. So this is an example, by the way, of one player making a difference between a position group going to number 4 to number 3. I'm putting safety at number 4. All right. Now, here is the reason why. It would have been defensive line in number 4. All right. It would have been defensive line in number 4. I understand Kyle Hamilton. I understand Malaki Starks. Again, if we're talking star power, Kyle Hamilton in the safety group, I mean, Kyle Hamilton is the best in this position. But ArDarius Washington going down, I like Bo Braden. I like Sanusi Kane, all right? I like them both. But I need to see them prove it if that is where it is. Now, if we're going to talk about a guy in the final part of the show, or in the third segment, that could maybe improve this ranking. I can see you, Q. Can you see me? Can you see me?
But I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay in the Oestreicher household.
I'm just saying, with the injury to ArDarius, the depth is a little bit tested for me. Kyle Hamilton himself is that the high tide raises all ships, right? Malaki Starks hasn't played a snap yet. I think he's going to be great. But to me, I think that ArDarius' injury pushes safety down to 4 to me. But, of course, that can change if guys step up at that group. So that's where I am.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to have safety at 4. But I will put the offensive line, the OLBs, at 4. I think that the pass rushers, even though they seem to have a lot of depth, a lot of guys, Mike Green, I love the guy, he's coming out for a second, a double sack season is Odafe Oweh, Calvin Oy, a lot of guys that are coming in and with some stats to their name, but I want to see one guy step up above the rest. We really haven't had a guy since Terrell Suggs come in and be that dominant force. And we have 3 guys in the division, 2 of which are in contract disputes, so they're having issues in Trey Hendrickson and TJ Watt. But we will be way better as a defense if we had another, pass rusher that can do the things that our guy Terrell Suggs did back in his prime. So I'm going to put the OLBs at number 4.
All right, Q, what do you got for 4?
I'm going to say D-line. I hear what both of you are saying. There's some points there. Kevin's lost his mind as far as safety, but I think from a D-line standpoint, man, can we get the days of old when Brandon Stevens and Haloti Ngata or Kelly Gregg ruled the roost, or Trevor Price, or it's just somebody that can just be so dominant and disruptive that you just like, oh God, I get we got some dudes there, but man, Matabike, come on, brother. We need you. So I think D-line from I have to prove myself phase of moving and grooving and helping this team be the best it can be, Super Bowl or bust, they come in at number 4.
All right. Well, that is my number 3. So D-line is 3 for me. And now, again, this would have been flipped had ArDarius not gotten injured, and then maybe my rankings would have been more acceptable in the eyes of everybody here. But I think defensive line with Nnamdi Madubuike, I like Travis Jones a lot. My question with the line room is what comes after those two right now? Because, look, I like a lot of what a couple of these guys bring to the table. I think ArDarius Washington hasn't really lived up to snuff. And Aeneas Peoples my favorite day 3 pick in that class, so I'm hoping that he can provide some pass rush. And then John Jenkins kind of filling in for Michael Pierce. But, I think that Michael Pierce gave you a little bit more in the pass rushing department as opposed to what John Jenkins can give you. I think Jenkins can fill in really nicely as a run stuffer, but I think Pierce could push the pocket a little bit more. So the combination of Nnamdi Madubuike and Travis Jones, them having that experience, is where it edged out over Malaki, who has not played a snap yet. And again, that can change in week 1. Malaki, who out there have 2 interceptions. We're talking about, okay, yeah, all right, now safety's over. But I'm going with the experience of that group over the inexperience of the safety room outside of Kyle Hamilton. So D-line is my number 3 right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 too. I won't waste much of your time. I agree with everything you said. That's why I have them at 3 as well.
See, y'all just tripping because Travis Jones and Malaki Starks, mother of pearl. When you're looking at Malaki and you're looking at Travis Jones, I get it. Travis Jones, hey, no question about it. He's going to need to make an impact. He's going to need to be a force, a disruptor in the running game. Again, like you said, ArDarius Washington needs to step the heck up for sure and reestablish himself. But you lost your mind, KO, when you look at talent to talent and you're saying that Madubuike is on the level of Kyle Hamilton.
No. I think Hamilton's a better player than Madubuike is. I just think the experience that Jones and Madubuike have combined, and the fact that Malaki, like, that's my rule. I don't like to put, I don't know, Q, have you seen the quarterback list of people in national media? Like Caleb Williams, when he was a rookie last year, was put above like all these quarterbacks that were vets, and like I'm just like, the guy hasn't played a snap yet, right? Like, how can we judge that? So that's where my mindset is with it, where I haven't seen Malaki. Like, I expect Malaki to be awesome for them. Like, I'm really high on the pick. I know, Sam, you are as well. We had the even Warrior versus Starks wars on Locked On Ravens for months. You won, but I think, to me, I just want to see him prove it first. So that's why I think Kyle Hamilton's a better player than Madubuike is. So I want to get that on record because I don't want it to get twisted.
Well, I'm gonna say outside linebacker comes in at my number 3. And when you look at the outside linebacker position, that in my mind is probably going to be the most intriguing position in training camp. So that's where I'm saying there are 3 rather than going down to 5, because in the joint practices, the biggest, like, oh my gosh, what's he going to do that I'm looking forward to seeing is Mike Green. I thought his explosiveness, his sideline to sideline range of suddenness and speed was evident and on display. I like how Matt Robinson, their coach, really just coaches them up. You can see where his influence is. I think the bigger picture, when you see that group, it's KVN. It's his ability to be that trusted veteran that knows how to get things done. I think, again, when you look at Odafe, yes, he came off the double digit, and now he's in the double digit club, but he's looking to prove himself. And I think that's going to be some extra motivation for him. But the Mike Green element of it all, I'm super intrigued about that. And who's Montavious Robinson? I think he's going to be, just Mr. Double J, where Jared Johnson held down the edge. You couldn't run that way. I think there are going to be some teams that are going to be trying to run the football in the Ravens, and they're going like, oh, gosh, 95 is over there. Mother of pearl, there's nothing we can do. He's pushing us back into Roquan Smith, and that's not going to be fun. So there is where I would say my number 3 outside linebacker.
Yeah, I'll just get it out of the way. My number 2 is outside linebacker. So I agree with mostly everything you said there, Q. I mean, it's going to be a matter of can Mike Green step up? I think he can. Odafe, Oweh, this is a contract year. Yes, Kyle Van Noy's been consistent for them, but will more depth help? I mean, they are very deep there to the point I saw a comment earlier about David Ojabo and, his status. I don't think David Ojabo makes the roster right now. I mean, I just think it's that deep where I don't see a place for him. And, we're talking about, are they going to sign Clowney? Is Judon an option? Like, if that happens, I don't know who's off the roster because Q, you said it on Monday where 5 is kind of that sweet spot. I agree with you there. Right now, you can envision them keeping 6, but that feels like it's too many. So I think the depth there is really nice, and I think talent is there as well. You have this rotation of Oweh and Robinson, who's my pick for breakout player of the year this year for the Ravens, and Van Noy and Green. I think that's a heck of a rotation. So OLB is my number 2.
Yeah, my number 2, I'm going to go with cornerback. I mean, not cornerback. I am going to go cornerback. I'm going to go cornerback because I really like the safety group. That's my number 1 safety because I'm super high on Malaki Starks. I just am enormously high on Malaki Starks. Cornerback room, Jaire Alexander, can he stay healthy for a full season? I'm not big on, knocking the guy because he doesn't stay healthy because it's a contact sport and things happen. But, I'm sure there's things the Ravens will do this offseason to get him ready. Marlon Humphrey is a solid guy. Nate Wiggins is a solid guy. Not much else proven outside of that. TJ Tampa, I know we're all very high on. I'm very high on him. I think he'll be doing well. Chidobe Awuzie is really good as well. I'm talking myself out of putting him in number 2, by the way, as I talk. But I'm going to stick with it and have my number 1 group be the safety group because it's my favorite group, with Kyle Hamilton being my favorite player to watch on film outside of Lamar Jackson. That group is going to be phenomenal with the acquisition of Malaki Starks. I like Sanusi King, what he brings to the table, Bo Brady as well in their second year. I think they'll both take the next step. They do need to add one more piece, and we'll talk about it on the next segment. But for now, I just love the safety group so much. I just wish ArDarius Washington was healthy right now. That will be a firm flag plant at number 1 for me. But I'm gonna take the hot take route. I'm gonna say cornerback at 2, safety at 1 because I love the safety so much.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Y'all hot taking it all right because mother of pearl. I don't see why safety could be number 1. Really don't. I think safety is number 2. I think Kyle Hamilton pushes the conversation as number 2 and potentially number 1, unless you're Kevin Oestreicher's list. But at the same time, when you're looking at Kyle Hamilton, you're looking at the jack of all trades. He is the guy. Literally, Roquan goes down. Who gets the green dot?
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton is your jack. But the next Eric Weddle / Ed Reed, yeah, it is Malaki Starks. But I think the other 2, Bo Brady, Sanusi King, I think they provide the depth. So therefore, when it comes to the number 1 position, has to be corner. You kind of just speed bumped over Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins was Malaki Starks last year, and he delivered. Came in, did extremely well, didn't flinch under pressure. So I'm looking at him to have even a greater year. Yeah, you gave some platitudes to your boy TJ Tampa, but I'm telling you, TJ Tampa going to be a baller. Big man, big boy. Yeah. At the same time, we're talking about when it comes to leadership, Marlon Humphrey going to be on that train doing the Victory Live IG because they're going to get a lot of victories on the IG. He trying to establish them as the 2000 version of the Ravens, just like dominating everybody. I think he has something to just come out and all hell fire. Let's go. So while, yes, my number 2 is safety, but I think corner, you talk about free agent pickup in Jaire Alexander. I get it. As far as him having to stay healthy, I think the entire group across the board, they are going to allow for things to settle down while Roquan figures out who's his Robin to his Batman.
Yeah. And my number 1 is corner. I mean, what you guys are saying, it's the best secondary in the league, in my opinion, best corner room in the league, in my opinion. You have those 3. Man, Sam, I thought as a fellow Jaire Alexander truther, you would be here. But I like the hot takeness. And look, Kyle Hamilton is, again, it's like my quarterback in number 4, right? These guys are stars. They raise the level of everybody else up there. Lamar Jackson obviously is the biggest talent, elevator they have. I'm here. I think next time we'll do it off of one set of standards instead of all of us having our own.
We got different standards going on.
But the good part about it is we'll have another opportunity to do it. So I'm excited to do that. But so here, let me run over the list real quick. Sam, yours is safety, corner, D-line, OLB, ILB.
Yep.
All right, and then Q, yours is corner, safety, OLB, DL, ILB.
So from top to bottom, you're going now, right?
From top to bottom, yep. Corner,
absolutely.
safety, outside. I was like,
whoa.
Yeah. All right, cool. And then mine is corner, outside linebacker, D-line. Not Sam, my number 4 picks, and inside linebacker at number 5. Safety was my number 4. So, boom, I love it. And so for next week, I'm going to have graphics that we can pull up on Monday, and we can look at them visually, and we can in the chat. I want to make sure that we get the consensus of who was right and who was wrong in our evaluation.
The internet is forever, unfortunately. Well, that was a great segment. When we come back, we'll talk about the safety group a little bit more because there's a certain player who's looking to get a team that is going to compete for a championship. And I got a feeling Ravens fans are going to want to hear about this coming up next on the Raven Squad Show.
Free Kyle Hamilton.
We are back in the Raven Squad Show. Thank you guys again for joining us. Again, you can find us on Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for your Ravens news and talking points. We're going to talk about Justin Simmons because Justin Simmons has gone on record as saying that he's going to be a little more picky in selecting his team this year because he believes that he has, only a few more opportunities to win that championship, but he wants to make sure he's on the squad to compete for that championship. So I will start with you, Kevin, because you had the safeties way down low on your list. Do you think that the acquisition of Justin Simmons would change your rankings a little bit if you were to become a Baltimore Raven?
Yes, it would. It 100% would. If ArDarius was healthy, they would have been my number 3. Justin Simmons would. I think that's like, we talked about Jaire as like the final infinity stone, like, oh, he's the final piece. But I truly do think depth-wise, there are a couple spots you can look at, like inside linebacker, a depth guard wouldn't hurt you. But I truly think that someone to just a veteran option there in that safety room. It's not that I don't believe in a Bo Braid. It's not that I don't believe in a Sanusi Kane to step up and help. And plus, I think you do have the options at corner to where you don't necessarily have to play your third safety a bunch if you don't want to. Like, you could throw a Woozier out there or TJ Tampa out there in certain looks and not have to worry about, is this second inside linebacker next to Roquan going to figure it out? Or is this third safety next to Hamilton and Malaki going to figure it out? But I just look back to last year and how many options they went through. Right? It's not about Bo Braid and Sanusi Kane. It's about having the option in case those guys don't pan out for you. Because I don't want them back in the same situation as last year where, Marcus Williams was supposed to have this great year last year. And Eddie Jackson was supposed to be this veteran stabilizer for them. And we all know, guys, that was the complete opposite of what ended up happening. And on top of that, Brandon Stevens was a lot worse than he was in 2023. So all depth is good depth, as Ozzie Newsome has said, and we've all said it too. You can never have enough corners. I think that extends to all positions. You can never have enough of anything. And so to me, if they added a depth piece, and it doesn't have to be Simmons in particular, I think he's the best option out there. But if it's a Julian Blackmon or someone else, it gives you the option in case something doesn't work, where right now, if it doesn't work, you're running a little thin on what you can do unless you want to try to move Jalen Armour-Davis over and see if that works. If that's just a training camp thing, who knows? But I think another depth piece, that final depth piece as safety, will go a long way for that group.
You talk about depth, and I appreciate it. I think the one thing that makes it tough is special teams. And so, is Simmons going to be that guy that can come in and play special teams? And he is a guy that, was his 9th or 10th year in the league coming up if he's, so happens to sign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that's a challenge. Whereas you got, Bo Braid and Sanusi Kane, young legs, fresh legs, special teams guys. And so I think from a depth aspect of things and salary cap, we still got to figure out, what that looks like and what money you have to sign him and agree upon it. his criteria is I want to go to a team that, is a contender. And certainly if we're talking Super Bowl or bust, the Ravens fit that criteria. But I think the money has to be right. And then I also think, from a bigger picture standpoint, the way in which you have those young players, a Malaki Starks, like Kyle Hamilton did his rookie year, played a ton of special teams while starting. I think that is my only reservation with Simmons joining the squad.
I gotta agree with you. I was definitely on board the Justin Simmons train. I've been on board the Justin Simmons train for a little bit now, but we always forget about special teams. And special teams, we know, is very important. It could be the difference between winning and losing. And we laugh when we talk about it, but John Harbaugh is a special teams guy, and he's going to make sure that the guys he have here taking up roster spots can play special teams. And I'm not sure if Justin Simmons has that in his mind. Obviously, we will like the depth, with Justin Simmons, because we just witnessed a horrific injury with ArDarius Washington's Achilles going out. Hopefully he comes back this season. But even if he does, he's not going to be the same player. So I kind of agree with you, Q. I don't know if it's such a good idea, but, I want to be rich. We said the same thing about Jaire Alexander coming in. I would love to be rich in that position. So, I would not be mad at it, but I definitely see it from a roster standpoint where you're coming from.
Okay, what if it was a guy that could play special teams? What if it's a vet that you could throw out there on special teams? Would that change? Like, let's not Justin Simmons, let's put him to the side. What if it's somebody that's maybe a little younger, has that ability, can come in, and you still feel maybe a little more confident in that guy over, like, I don't know if Quandre Diggs at this point, he's 32, so I'm not sure he would. There are a couple others out there as well, but Q, if it's a guy that could play special teams, is that something you're more on board with, or are you just fully on the, Bo Braid and Snoozy Kane are those guys and you trust them?
I'm a Bo Braid, Snoozy Kane, guy, but we also know the EDC Ozzie Newsome mantra that the roster is never really finished until the 47 active day roster comes about and you see what you really have opening weekend. So I'm not opposed to bringing in a guy if you feel during training camp, those other guys are not going to be as impactful from a special team standpoint, because, I think the salary cap and the structure, we can say we want to sign everybody, but it is one of those scenarios where you got to have money in case somebody gets hurt. And yeah, that's where the Lamar Jackson extension comes in, because then you kind of know what you have and you can kind of play with the numbers, if you will. Just got Malaki Starks, man. The dude is young. I get it. I understand. But he's your first rounder, similar to Nate Wiggins. When you got a first rounder like that, you're expecting him to go in and play right away. And ArDarius Washington was awesome. No question about it. He flipped the whole script when it came to where they were to how they finished up. And we, clearly saw his impact in the Houston game. And, Beyonce was sitting up there like, oh, my goodness, where all the single ladies at? Like, boy, we need to put a ring on him because, like, his play was just so amazing. But again, this is a deep roster. We're talking about, rush in an outside linebacker, and that being the most intriguing position. Five guys. Like, where the sixth guy coming from? So, boy, this is good. This is good conversation, good debate, and good problems to have if you're the Ravens.
Yeah, hard to disagree with you on that. We are definitely trying to be the rich that's getting richer, obviously. But, I tend to agree with you. Let's give Bo Brace and Snoozy Kane a chance. And it looks like, based on what we've seen activity-wise in free agency, that's the route that the Ravens are taking, at least for now, as we get started with training camp. Well, last part of the show, more Ravens tape. Who would have thunk it? USA Today came out with a list ranking the best uniforms in the National Football League. And I'm not sure that Ravens fans are going to be very excited about where the Ravens rank in that list. Go ahead and drop your comments in the chat where you think these Ravens are going to rank, and give me your takes on it, because when we get back, we'll discuss it next on the Raven Squad Show. Welcome back to Raven Squad Show. Again, the Raven Squad Show will be on Mondays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Please be sure to like and subscribe and tune in and share it with your friends, your other Ravens fans who may not know about the show, as you're trying to outreach and get this talking point and this entertainment out to you guys as we discuss the Ravens all the way into the Super Bowl. But USA Today came out with an interesting list. Kevin, I'll let you display that information so the Ravens fans know where the Ravens ranked.
Yeah, and I see one person, Purple Pill, in there saying number 9 is where he predicts. So if anybody else wants to get their last-second predictions in for where the Ravens ranked in this, again, it's all 32 teams. So if you want to guess where the Ravens were before I read it out here, be sure to do that in the next minute, because I'll do a little preface. So, yes, it was Nate Davis over at USA Today, did uniform rankings, and pretty shocking, in my opinion, where the Ravens finished here. Now, I'll read off actually who was number 1. It was a tie between the Chargers and the Raiders for number 1. And actually, the Ravens' rival, the Steelers, were number 3 on this list, followed by Philadelphia and New Orleans are number 4 and number 5. So we got 7, we got 2. The Ravens, that might be a shock, number 25. The Ravens were number 25 on this list. Now, last year they were number 28. They were even worse in these rankings last year. 28. Now, I'm going to read what Nate Davis said. He said, quote, "I've long contended they look like bruises, which is somehow a pro-pros." Yes, the word of pro-pros is in this article. "Given the tough guy football identity this franchise has almost always had. And when you're mainly adorned in black and purple, that's going to happen. The Maryland flag baked into the shoulder crest remains the best detail. And give them credit for trying the purple rising look last season, which featured a forward-facing bird on the helmet. But meh is the word that's being used. So cute. When you suited up, did you feel like you were a bruise? You looked like a bruise. And I know, like, the Ravens don't do a lot of uniform changes. Like, I know it's changed a little bit, but I mean, did you feel like you looked like a bruise when you suited up in purple and black?
No, not at all. I thought, the purple and black wasn't necessarily about the bruise. I thought it was about like a regal toughness. And in that regal toughness comes the spirit of excellence and winning and championships and iconic players, the likes of number 52 and number 8 and number 20 and 75 and 5.
87.
And like,
Yep.
Rock that 87. All right, bro. Super Bowl. But
right.
I'm kind of, so in all bias, I was a little boy, loved the powder blue and the Chargers. I mean, that's just like,
yeah, that's clearly number 1. I get
all
it.
day, every day. But the Saints, their uniforms look kind of Saint-like in the New Orleans overly done fashion, whereas I think the Ravens are just right. So I would swap them out. And then the Steelers, I don't know if you're just waxing nostalgic or something, but gosh, I mean, the Ravens, their jerseys look beautiful, whereas the Steelers look like it's like, oh God, my eyes, I'm blinded when they wear their color rush stuff. And, they look like they're in jail or something when they had those back in the day throwback unis.
I like the Bumblebee.
No, I'm kind of, those two, you can swap those guys out, the Saints and the Steelers, and the Ravens can jump way up there in the top, at least top 5.
He must have thought this was 2015 with the mustard pants. That might have been what this was. Were you guys fans of the mustard? That's a huge debate, by the way. Were you mustard pants? Did you guys like the mustard pants?
I'm gonna let you answer first.
Wait a minute.
Ravens
You
mustard pants?
Pants as in for the Ravens?
Yeah, in 2015 they wore that against the Chiefs. Jimmy Clausen was the quarterback. They wore mustard pants.
Yeah, I remember that. And like my eyes, I got I had to get a cataract. No, I was actually on the radio broadcast, and that was a tough one. Yeah, see, Jimmy Clausen and Mustard Pants just says retire it. Don't ever bring that back again.
Have they brought it back since, Kev?
No, I don't think. No.
Yeah,
Not that exact thing. No, I mean,
no,
they've joked about it though. They've joked about it.
Purple color rush that they had last year with the helmets. Woo, man, that thing is amazing. I'm still trying to convince my son Kadir to let me have his helmet and jersey, and I'll be displaying it up here somewhere in my office. I mean that thing looks so sweet. Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
That's
Kadir.
That color rush. And it was dope the way we had Tyler Wallace do the beautiful punt return.
Yeah.
And then he came back with that against the Bengals was a quick out, and catches the quick out, turns it up, same sideline, and takes it to the hizzy. And I think the score was either 21-7 or 21-14. But he, because of that play, brought the Ravens right back into the game and thwarted the efforts of the Bengals. So there's a lot of good juice and good juju as we look at that Ravens, in my mind, jersey as one of the best in the league. What are we saying here? They're really the Steelers. Somebody just kind of go back in the day or something. I don't know.
Steelers uniform is horrendous looking. I cannot stand, and maybe it is some bias with that, but even their colorway jerseys, their retro jerseys, it's just gross to me. So I don't see how the Steelers are up there. I love the Ravens jersey. I love the color. I wear it all the time. Even when I'm not wearing the jersey, I'm still wearing the color because it's a nice color. It's a nice uniform to have, and it's just more hate for the Ravens. I know being a fan is not much to really care about as far as who's ranking our uniforms, but in my opinion, it's just, what are you looking at? I wonder where the Vikings are ranked. I want to see where the Vikings are ranked.
Are there any requests? You guys are curious? I saw in the chat the Browns. Someone asked about the Browns. The Browns are number 32, and yes, their helmet is literally just orange. So,
that makes sense.
That's not surprising. Vikings, Sam, you said. Let's see.
Let's look at where they are.
Vikings. Do you have a guess while I scroll?
I mean, if the Ravens are 20,
it might be middle of the pack. If the Ravens are down in the bottom third.
Vikings are 9.
Okay.
Vikings are 9. Bengals are 8.
Jersey.
For those curious, Bengals are 8 because they probably got points for their white and black jersey.
I do like that jersey. I know we're
I like it, but number 8.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm fine with putting the Bengals over the Steelers. The Steelers are just, and the article says no team is more seamlessly linked to its hometown than the Steelers. I don't think that deserves points. I just think it's about how good they look. I don't think it's about that.
That's saying in a quarterback ranking or the offensive ranking for the Ravens, the quarterback ranking should be way down or something.
Yeah, who would do that? Who would say something like that? I don't know. That's crazy. What is that
criteria?
I know. It's wild. I don't know who would say that.
We're directly linked with the city, so we're going to have the Steelers uniform up here. And oh, by the way, the Ravens, their quarterback room, they're not that good.
Oh my God. Well, that was a fun segment to talk about the uniforms for sure. And a lot of ugly jerseys at the top of the list, but for my money, I'm picking the Ravens jersey 10 times out of 10. And I'm sure everybody in the chat agrees. Thank you guys so much.
What helped, by the way, the another helmet.
Yes.
The helmet coming back. That's what
we got to get that. I think Thanksgiving will be a good time to get that.
Logo, man. I'm telling you.
Yes. We need to get that for sure. Thanks so much again for joining us at the Raven Squad Show. Appreciate you guys for, again, tuning in. To the first-time listeners, again, thank you for tuning in. And for the returners, thank you again for tuning in. You can find us on YouTube Live. After the show, the video will be posted. You can also find us on anywhere you get your podcasts at all. So, again, thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll be back on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time talking about the Ravens as that week training camp will begin as the rookies will begin filing in for the start of it. So I'm very excited for that. Again, thank you everybody so much for tuning in to Raven Squad Show, and we will see you next week.